So my name is Julian Toledo. I work as a developer advocate for the AdWords API. A little bit about my background. I've been working with Google for the last 4.5 years. I also work in search quality and Google Apps. So let me know if you have any questions related to Google Apps or search quality at the end of the talk. I'm going to be around. So let's start talking about AdWords. So AdWords is the most important product that we have in Google, and we really think it offers great opportunities to developers. A lot of people think maybe it's not as exciting as other products like Android and Chrome, but this is not exclusive. Like if you are working with other technologies, you can also use the AdWords API and AdWords in general. So I want to give you a little bit of a background of what AdWords is. How many of you have used AdWords in the past or are currently using AdWords? So it's like half of the crowd. And how many of you have used the AdWords API in the past or are using the AdWords API currently? One? OK. So I'm going to give a little bit of explanation of how AdWords works because half of the people haven't used it. So I'll try to do it quickly so we don't get into too many details about AdWords. So for those that have used it, please bear with me for a few minutes until I get into the AdWords API. So AdWords is our advertising program. And basically, you see it every day, every time you use the Google website to search. And when you use the content network is a very big number of websites that are affiliates to Google through AdSense and through other products as DoubleClick. So AdWords, I'm going to start talking about the basic ads. I think it's the best way to start. I don't want to get into too many details for a technical crowd. Maybe you don't want to know that much about all the kinds of ads that we have. So in this image, you can see this is the basic ad that we have. It's a text ad. It offers a subject and 2 lines of description and the URL where the ad is going to point at when the user clicks at it. So AdWords, how does AdWords work? AdWords offers you an option to use keywords, to pay for keywords, so your ad shows up in the search results and the content network. And something very powerful about AdWords is that you can choose how much you're willing to pay for your ad to show up, and you have totally control over the budget and over how the ads are going to show up. So basically, the auction works every time that user types a keyword in our search box. There's in the back end there's the whole universe of ads, and we select the most appropriate ads depending on the keyword and depending on the location, depending on the language. And we have something very powerful that is called quality score. So even if you pay a lot of money for your ad to show up, we also consider if your landing page, like the web page that you are advertising, is good enough. So we have different ways to measure it. So depending on how good your web page is, your ad will show up or not, depending on how much you pay. There's a very good video in YouTube that explains this in very good detail. So for you that haven't used AdWords, I really recommend to see this video. I'll share in my Twitter account. I'll share the presentation after it, so you can take a look and get more detail. So basically, AdWords has a structure that is based in accounts. So each AdWords account is divided into campaigns. And then each campaign is divided into ad groups. Ad groups exists because you need to assign for each ad that you want to show in Google or the content network. You need to assign a keyword and a URL, and you need to assign the ad. So you can encapsulate different ads and keywords together. And we will see a little bit of more the technical side of this. So this is a quick overview of the whole structure. So at the end of the presentation, if the internet is working, I think today the internet has been good. So I'll show up a little bit how to do this in coding. So as I said, the structure is accounts, campaigns, ad groups, and the ad groups are divided in keywords and ads. So the campaigns can be targeted by location, by language. This is something very important for many countries, that you can choose where you want to spend the money. For example, if you are in the Czech Republic, you can specify the Czech Republic as a whole, or you can specify sub-regions of the Czech Republic or cities. We have different ways of targeting. It can be also pointed with a very specific location and the perimeter, like, I don't know, 5 kilometers around Prague, for example. You can also use demographics. You can change the time, put the ad only weekends or during the day, different times during the night. And we have different platforms, not only google.com, but the whole content network. So we have different types of ads. I don't want to give much detail, but these are examples of the ads that we have. We have ads for mobile. These are very powerful for smartphones, because a customer can click in the ad directly and call you directly. For example, if a customer sees in their phone, if they see the phone number, they click on the phone number, and the phone automatically knows that it needs to dial the phone number, and the customer can call you directly. We have other kinds of ads. One very popular among developers is site extensions and location extensions, because you can code against the Merchant Center and Google Base and get many, many products inside the Google Ads. So what are the benefits of AdWords? One of the main benefit is that you pay only for the clicks that the user performs. And this is very important, because if you know that a campaign or an ad is working better than other, you can focus your money on those ads. And it's very important that you can measure everything that is happening behind the scenes. So you can know which ads perform better than which ones, and shuffle around the money or change your strategy in the long term. You can measure everything. And also, you can use the AdWords front end. You can use the AdWords API to measure things. You can use analytics. We have an integration between AdWords and analytics. And you have complete control over the budget. You can choose languages, different locations. We have many, many ads formats. So I really think like developers should get more involved in the AdWords business, because it's a very important business. There are many, many opportunities. And one of the main things is that we have a full API that controls the whole AdWords completely. So as a developer, you can really use the AdWords API to take advantages of the business. So one of the examples of the things that you can do with the AdWords API, you can automate the keywords and the keyword generation. You can create ads automatically. Something very important is you can integrate AdWords with databases, with backend systems. Many companies don't have developers, and they really have a need of having their inventory connected to AdWords. So developers can really use the AdWords API to connect to the rest of the system. Something that also is very, very good for developers is that developers can code very complex operations that are impossible to do by hand. Many agencies and many large customers of AdWords do everything manual. So a developer can really make a difference, can make a very good impact on the AdWords business by creating many strategies and creating really smart techniques. You can do almost everything with the API. And so let's talk a little bit more about who uses the API. So the API is used mainly by search engine marketing companies. How many of you are working as an SEM, or search engine marketing or SEO? So for you guys, like I really think that you should be using the AdWords API, because it's for SEM, it's a done deal. Like if you use the AdWords API, you can connect your system. You can do many things that you would do manually, like in Excel spreadsheets or everywhere. You could do it using the AdWords API. Also, agencies need to deal with many accounts for their customers, and sometimes doing that by hand is impossible. So if you automate any of this, it will save a lot of time for the agencies. And something that is very important is that the API, you need to have developers. Like companies that don't have developers cannot automate anything. So they usually hire developers that know AdWords or the AdWords API, or they buy software that solves many of their problems. One of the best examples where the API helps deeply in their business is when you have a long tail. For example, if you have an e-commerce site that has millions of products, sometimes they have account managers that do some of the advertising online by hand, but it is impossible if you have millions of products to target every single product. So the long tail of products sometimes is not advertised, so only the main products. And using the AdWords API is very easy to connect to the inventory database, get all the information about the ads, push everything to AdWords, using the APIs, change the strategies. For example, if a product is more popular than others, you can bet more money in those products. If a product is out of stock, you can pause that campaign because you don't want to advertise something that you don't have, or maybe you want to, but you want to prioritize the products that are selling better or the products that you have in inventory. So in general, you can do automation and the benefits are that you have better productivity, like you save time, you do things that you cannot do manual. You can advertise the 100% of a large catalog. You can create campaigns, very specific campaigns. This is something that works very well, because if you have many, many products and you do a general campaign, the general campaign may not be that specific. For example, if you want to buy a camera, and the user wants to buy a camera, and you are selling cameras, but you only advertise by digital cameras, and your ad is not targeted specific enough, you may not get as many clicks as you would get if you had the exact number, the exact model of the camera, the price. You can put the price also in the ad, and this is something that it would be impossible to do it manually. So what does the API offer? We have many, many features. The API is a SOAP API. We get a lot of questions of why are we still using SOAP in the AdWords API, because all our newer APIs use REST. But we still use SOAP because the AdWords API was our first API and has been always the most important API that we offer. And we also, to avoid dealing with XML and HTTP requests, we also offer client libraries. So we offer client libraries. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. And we also offer the opportunity to do bulk jobs, so you can upload a very large amount of information using the API in a single call. We have services that offer you the traffic that a keyword has in the search results. We also offer you ideas of which keywords are related to the keyword that you want to use to advertise. And we can run reports and download all the information using the API. And there are some features that are only available in the AdWords API. For example, the ads parameter. I'm going to show a case study and a little bit how to use ad parameters. That's a feature that is not possible to use in the AdWords front end and is available only in the AdWords API. So you can also dynamically change the ads and the keywords and the bets. For more information, I strongly advise you to go to the AdWords website. We have code samples, we have a lot of starting guides, we have a blog, and we have a forum, and my whole team is always behind the forum. Like if you have any suggestions about the features of the AdWords API, we keep following up the forum and the client libraries. If there's any problem with one of the client libraries or with the samples, we have a large team behind that is changing and trying to improve everything as soon as we can. So creating an application using the AdWords API. We have a getting started guide that explains you what is necessary to start coding against the AdWords API. The AdWords API is, unlike other APIs, you need to have an MCC. MCC is a super AdWords account that sits on top of all the AdWords accounts, and it's called my client center. The AdWords API works on that level. So when you have an MCC and you have sub-accounts under it, you can get a developer token, and that's what you need to start coding. So once you apply for the developer token, it may take a few days to get it approved. And then you can choose to use SOAP or our client libraries in any of the programming languages that we offer. And we have also a sandbox. The sandbox is very important for developers because using the sandbox, you can perform all the operations that the AdWords API offers in a closed environment that is not connected to the AdWords accounts. So if you are dealing with a customer that has a large AdWords account, you can work in the sandbox, do all the testing, and then move to the real account. So you can perform all the test operations in this account. So the AdWords API offers a very large number of services. It's divided in different services. I don't want to give too much detail about this. We have a service for each object, and I'm going to show how to use some of the objects. This is the list of all the services that we offer in the AdWords API. It's one of the largest APIs that we offer. We have a versioning system. The API is constantly changing. We release a new API around every 6 months to 9 months. Right now, the latest API, the latest release was the 2010-08 for August last year, this year, sorry. But some of the services are still behind. For example, the account service and the report service, they are still V13 is around 2 years old. But they will be migrated very soon to new services. So this is an example of how to use the API using SOAP. So using SOAP, we publish all the whistles that you need if you need to deal with the SOAP directly. If that's the case, this is an example. You only need to do a post request, a post HTTP request with the XML. We have a whole list of samples of all the XML that we offer that you could use to reuse to use the SOAP directly. However, we recommend to work using the client libraries. We offer client libraries in Java, .NET, Python, Ruby, Perl, and PHP. And the client libraries offer you a very good starting point because you don't have to deal with the XML, you don't have to deal with the HTTP by yourself. The client libraries offer you encapsulate the authentication, so you don't need to worry about authentication. The client library will do the authentication for you. And we also offer everything is written in the same way the programming code works. So if a programmer is familiar with Java, it would be a lot easier to work directly with Java than to deal with XML. So this is an example of the same code that was shown before in XML using SOAP. Here you can see it is, I'm using the account service. Oh, sorry. I'm using the account service, and the account service is calling the get account info. So the same code that in XML will take maybe 50 to 80 lines of code to form the XML and do the request and everything, it takes only 5 lines of code in Java. How many of you are Java developers? Good question. And .NET? Okay. Yeah, because I chose Java for the examples and because it's easier for everyone that knows a little bit about the syntax of Java, a C-like syntax. So if you have any other questions about Ruby or Python, that are the two ones that are very different to Java, let me know at the end or during the presentation. So for example, to create a campaign, it works the same way I showed before. You have to choose a service. For example, to create a campaign, you have to use the campaign service. And with the campaign service, you have to specify the version of the AdWords API. This is something we chose to do, like to have different versioning of the API because there could be changes from one version to the other. So the whole namespace of the AdWords API allows you to choose which API you want to use, which release you want to use. In this case, it's the latest release, the 2010-08. So once you have the campaign service, you can create a new campaign. For example, you need to create a new campaign object, set the name of the campaign. You can set the status. For example, this campaign is starting as paused. And then you can click the bidding strategies of AdWords offers different bidding strategies. In this case, it's the manual CBC. So after you have the campaign, you have to set the budget, how much money you want to spend on that campaign. In this case, I think it's it's $50. It's a micro amount, so you have to divide it by, or multiply it and divide it by a million. So once you have the budget, you have to create an operation. In this case, the operation is add, because you want to add a new campaign. The AdWords API offers you 3 operations: add, update, and delete. So they are called add, set, and delete. Sorry. And in this case, you add the operation and to the list of operations. You can have more than one operation in the same call. And then you call the campaign service, you call a mutate function that performs all the operations that you have in the list. So you could have many operations on that list. So this is the way to create a campaign. So you need to know enough coding to do it. Like many agencies usually ask us that they need developers to do that. They don't have them. So for developers, it's great to learn this and also to offer services. Like there are many companies making a very good business around AdWords. And I really like, if you are not doing that already, I think it's a great opportunity in general. So ad parameters is one of the best examples that we have, because ad parameters are not possible to be used. You cannot use them using the AdWords web page. To use ad parameters, you have to use the API. Ad parameters are very important to change a few things in the ad dynamically. For example, in this ad, to buy teacups, you can insert inside the ad 2 parameters. In this case, for when then the keyword antique cups is used, the price and the discount will change dynamically. This at the end, this helps a lot to have a single ad and have many keywords related to the ad with different values. And some of the customers that are using found that they have a very good improve in the amount of clicks that they get and the amount of conversions that they get and the amount of items that they sell using this. So to do this in the Hours API, in this case, as I mentioned before, you use a different service depending on what you're doing. In this case, it's the ads parameter service. Again, it's using the version 2010 of the AdWords API, and the ad parameter is linked to an ad group and to a keyword. So for each keyword that you have inside an ad group, you can set different values that will modify the ad. So in this case, after setting up the ad group and the keyword, you can insert the 2 parameters. In this case, $80 and 18% discount. So once you have that, you do 2 set operations, and again you have the list of operations, and you call the mutate function to perform all the operations. All the new services work this way, except the V13 services that are older. They don't have the mutate and the operations. They work in a different way. They have a direct calls to create functions directly to create. So we had a case study with e-channel search in Australia. They found that they reduced the cost of 71% using the ad parameters. For example, for any flight agency, using the same ad, you can change the 2 keywords. For example, you can change the amount of money that you are saving, for example, the discount, and you can also change the price of the flight. This really helps the advertiser and the user, because for the user, if the ad shows the price and the discount is more attractive, also it helps and also helps the advertiser, because the user are clicking exactly in the ads that they feel that they would buy. So now, as I mentioned before, we had the Sandbox. It's really important to use the Sandbox in the beginning, or you can also create test accounts without budget if you don't want to show the ads. And the Sandbox, any changes that you do in the Sandbox don't show up in the Hours front end and in the Hours web page. And you don't need, something very important is you don't need a developer token. So if you want to start coding before you get the developer token, you can use the Sandbox in the beginning. We also offer a Sandbox account viewer. It's a very good way, because for the Sandbox, you don't have the web page. The AdWords web page only works with real accounts. So if you are using the API against the Sandbox, you can use the Sandbox account viewer to see all the things that you are doing in the Hours API. So now I will show you a little bit of code in Eclipse. So is the size big enough? Yeah, I think it's possible to read it. So for example, I already showed how to create a campaign. So let's create a campaign using the campaign service. Let's put a name to the campaign, Google Developer Day. So once you have the name, and I'm adding here the current milliseconds, so if in case I create more campaigns, because you can only have one name, the name is unique, so you can only have the same name in a campaign once. So let's start the campaign post and add the same as the sample before, $50. And the same way, you just need to set the operation add to create a campaign and run it using the mutate. So let's run this and get the ID, because once the campaign is created, you will get an ID back from the AdWords API. The IDs are very important in general when you are coding against the AdWords API because of the structure of AdWords. Because every time you need to add a campaign under the account, on an ad group under the campaign, you need to know the ID of the parent. So in this case, I'm going to create an ad group, so I need the ID of the campaign. So it's very important when you are coding against AdWords to save all the IDs locally if you're working with a local database, because you will need these IDs for the whole structure, and it will save you time. Because if you need to pull all the information from AdWords because you didn't store the IDs locally, you need to make calls. And the AdWords API, something I didn't mention before, is a paid API. It's very cheap. We charge 25 cents for 1,000 operations. The price is kind of symbolic. We have it there in case to make developers do the best use of it. And we usually offer it for free for developers. For some agencies, there's a process to get it for free. But anyway, it's very cheap. The price is there just to make sure that developers do everything right and they don't kill our servers making too many requests. So now I will copy the ID for the campaign and create an ad group. So I commented out all the functions that I was going to use. So now I will use the create ad group function. So now I need to specify the ID that I got back from when I created the campaign. So this is the name of the ad group. So you only need to, for the ad group, you can also set a name for the ad group, and you can also set how much money you want to invest in the ad group. So the ad group can have a different amount of money set for the bidding, but you can also do it in the keyword level and the ad group level. So again, you need to call the operation add and call the mutate. All the operations are very similar. It's a very straightforward API. So let me create the ad group. And it should get back, as I said before, the ID. So it's very important to keep the IDs, because it's something that we see that many developers don't keep the IDs locally. And when they want to create a new campaign or a new ad group, they have to connect to AdWords, download all the information, and then look for the ID using the name because they didn't store the ID. So now I need to use the ID. If I want to create within the ad group, I want to create an ad, and I also want to create the criteria. The criteria in this case is the keyword that I want to use. I need the ID of the ad group. So let me show you quickly how this is looking in the AdWords front end. So this is the AdWords front end. This is my personal account. I use it to run some blogs. It has only $1 a day budget. So if I refresh this page, I should get the new campaign that we just created. So this is the Google Developer Day campaign I just created. So and it also has the milliseconds, and it has $50 a day budget. You can change the budget to any currency. You can change the location of the campaign. So let me open it. And now the campaign has an ad group that is also paused. And the CPC is $10. So this is the maximum amount that you are bidding on it. So again, this is, if you have to run thousands of campaigns, it's a very easy way to do it. Like in Java, it only takes a few minutes to learn how to use the API and start creating campaigns very quickly. So this ad group right now is empty. It doesn't have any keywords or ads. So let me find some keywords. Like for example, keywords are something difficult to find. Like if you have in mind one keyword, sometimes it's difficult to find more keywords related to it. So we offer a service that helps you choose keywords To choose keywords, something important is that you can see the amount of traffic that a keyword may get, because we offer, in the API, we offer the traffic estimator service that will give you keywords related to a keyword and also the traffic of that keyword in our search results. So let's use the related keywords to find keywords related. For example, if I'm running the keyword programmer, again, I'm using the targeting idea service and our services in the AdWords API. If I want to get ideas around the keyword programmer, and I also want to know how much is that keyword being searched in Google, I can use the API. So for example, for programmer, when I run it, I should get different accounts. Oh, sorry, I forgot to comment the code on top. So if I get the related keywords, I should get a list of keywords that are related to the keyword programmer, and I should get also the search volume. So depending on the volume, I can also choose which keywords are more important than which keywords, and I can just choose the ones that I want to use. For example, for programmer, these are the results that I get using in English. You can choose the language. You can choose, there are different ways to target a keyword. You can do it in broad match or exact match. All those are details that are related to AdWords. As a programmer, you don't need to know that much detail, but you need to connect to the business side people to know how to use the keywords. So for example, let's choose one of these keywords to create the ad and to create the keyword. So using the targeting idea service, I was able to get that. So let's create the keyword now. Create a group criteria. So here I can insert the keyword. Again, you can do everything programmatically. With all these samples, I just copied all these samples from our website. So we have samples for every single programming language that we offer. So it's a very good starting point if this is the first time you're using the AdWords API. So let's run the criteria. So again, to create a criteria, I needed the ad group. And in this case, I use a suggestion to get it. So now I got the keyword added. This is the ID. So now my campaign in AdWords should have also the keyword. So if I go back to keywords and refresh, the keyword should be there. And again, you can change the amount of money that you want to bid on it, and you can do it programmatically, doing algorithms. Some agencies are very good at it. They really know how to get a web page up in their search results, like showing their ads, doing very good statistics behind the search volume of keywords and what the other competitors are doing. So finally, let's create an ad. We don't have an ad for this keyword and in this ad group. So again, everything is very similar. To create an ad, you need to call the ad service. So I already pasted here the ID I got from the ad group. And then I have the headline of the ad. In this case, it's a text ad. I use the headline and 2 lines for description of the ad. And then I can choose the website. Let me change it to code.google.com. So everything that we offer for the AdWords API and all the Google's APIs, we have it in code.google.com. I'm sure you're already familiar with it, but I like to repeat it because everything is there. Like even ourselves internally, we use a lot the external website to do things because we like to be in the same position of developers. So every time we need information, we try to post it online and be also developers like you are. So we make sure that everything is there. So in this case, let me I created the text ad. So again, this ad, you use an add operation and call again the mutate. It's always the same pattern. The kind of operation, the list of operations, and call the mutate to push the changes to ours. So let's run it, and we should have an ad created. So the text ad was added. So here now, I should get a text ad. So this is the ad that will be shown in this case in the Google search results. So I think it's very straightforward. Like in a couple of minutes, I was able to create the whole structure of an AdWords campaign using text ads. We also offer video ads and image ads. Those get a little bit more complicated, but it's a matter of minutes to understand how those work. So for developers, we think that AdWords offers opportunities as a developer of AdWords, and you can also use AdWords to advertise your own company. Like if you have different products that could be advertised in AdWords, and you have the advantage that you know how to code. So you can use your coding skills to have the best campaigns online and sell your products and be paid less than the competition to advertise your own products. I think that's all the coding I have. So I don't have anything else, only the resources. Everything, as I mentioned before, everything is in code.google.com. So let's leave the rest of the time for questions. Please ask any questions right now, and also if you have a specific question, grab me at the end of the questions session or around in the conference. We have a question there.
I've got two questions.
Yes.
One is, you've got IDs of the AdSense campaigns. Are they unique for the account or for all the accounts in AdWords?
Yes, the question is if the IDs of the campaigns are unique. Yes, they are unique. Across the whole AdWords universe.
Okay, and the second question is, when you work with AdWords, you sometimes try to upload, for example, ad tags that don't meet criteria. How does the communication work when you try to...
Yes, that's a very good question. Sometimes when you create a new ad or a new keyword, for some reason the keyword doesn't meet the requirements. So the way it works in the AdWords API, when you get the results after you make the mutate call, you get the object. So you can, inside the object, you can get information about why the keyword was failed or not. So the information is in the object that you get in return from the AdWords API.
One more.
Yes.
Can you actually work with that? Can you automate the process in case the ad tag has been rejected?
Yes.
Perform another action?
Yes, you can create, like if the keyword failed, there's a process to make exceptions for keywords. For example, good examples are brands. For example, if you are using, I don't know, the Google brand. If you want to use the Google as a keyword, it would fail because you are not allowed to use the keyword. But there's a process behind that you can make an exception. And using the AdWords API, you can say, hey, I have an exception for this keyword. So you make another call that is called an exception call, and you can push the exception, and then the keyword will go through. Something that you can use is we have a flag for every single call that we have in AdWords. We have a specific flag that is called validate only. When you use the validate only call, you are not performing the action. You are only trying to perform it, and the AdWords API will say, this is correct or not. This is a good way to do it for the keywords. For example, if you want to know if a keyword will fail when you create it, you use the validate only. The keyword will fail, and then you know you have to do a different process for it. So it's a way to test. And we're expanding the AdWords API services to include more things for validation. So one of the feedback that we got is that when you are inserting many keywords, for example, some campaigns can have thousands of keywords. So now, like in the past, when a keyword failed, when a keyword didn't go through, the whole batch was broken and you needed to do the whole thing again. Now we have specific exceptions for each keyword, so you don't need to resubmit the whole information. You can resubmit only the keywords that didn't go through. Any other questions? Yes?
In your example, you mentioned like price that is being changed dynamically.
Mm-hmm.
Like what other good use cases are you seeing that happen often and work well with clients?
It's a numeric value in this case. You have two numbers related to the keyword, so only numeric values can be used. You can use both or a single one. I've seen only because these are numeric values. I've seen only the numbers used for price and discount. I'm not sure if there are any other examples, but because there are numbers usually on an ad. A dynamic value would be a price. I don't know if there's any other use for it.
And can there be textual?
You can use it for everything you want.
But can it be textual or just not?
It's only numbers. The ad parameters is only numbers. We got some feedback, like some people may want to change text also in the ad, but if you change text, it's a completely different ad. So we recommend to create a new ad instead of changing it. So we use it only for numbers for that specific case of prices and discounts. And you can also use it for example, the amount of items that you have. Imagine you have like these are the 5 last items in your stock. You can say we only have 5 left in using the numbers, for example. So those are the only cases I can think of. Thanks. Any other questions? Yes.
Can you establish position preference using the API?
Yes, when you can do it in the ad group level and in the ad level, you can choose it. Yeah, it will depend also on the price. So I think the title of the talk also said that we were going to talk about AdSense, but that was a different talk. We didn't want to include AdSense in this one, so I apologize if you were expecting to see some AdSense too. So any other questions? Okay. Yeah. Yes?
Are all requests to be paid, or for example, if I just need statistics, even those requests are paid?
I didn't get the question. Let me get closer.
If all requests using the API are paid, for example, I'm just statistics, what's going on last month, to be paid.
Yeah, the API offers you like statistics per objects. So, for example, if you want to know how an ad is performing, you can download the ad object and get all the information around the statistics around that object. But you can also use reporting. So we have a different variety of reports. So you can download any of the reports, and you can use the API to create the reports and to download them. So all the statistic information that you can get to do operations, you can get them from there. Yeah, reports are paid and the statistics are paid. The reports are a bit more. The reports are cheaper than downloading the objects itself, because in the report you can get a very large amount of information.
I'm using the Google Analytics API, and I can get also some data from AdWords using
And that one is free. Analytics is free. Yeah, it's a good alternative. Like by the hand of AdWords, you should use analytics to get information, and also because analytics, in this case, analytics is free, and you can get many of the reports you can get in AdWords, you can also get them in analytics. And analytics offers a bit more of information, because you can set on the goals, and you can set different things about the user, about the IP, about the different things about the web page. Any more questions on this side, or? Yes?
Are there any notifications that I can process programmatically?
Yes, we have a service called Mcc Alerts. So we have a different kind of notifications on that service. You can get notifications using the Mcc Alerts service. I don't know if those are the kinds of notifications you're mentioning, but for example, if an account is running out of budget, this is something that is very important. You can get an alert calling this service, and then you can reassign more budget to it, or tell the user, hey, this account, you need to pay attention to this account because it's running out of money. So yeah. Yeah. No worries. So the question is, when can you know if the user uses a credit card to pay it? I'm not sure if that's possible using the API to know the method of payment.
Because if he uses postpaid, we don't have any credit.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if you can know the exact type. Let's take a look after the talk, because I'm not sure if you can get it. Yes? Yes.
That a lot of companies are looking for
Yes.
Why are they looking? Because it's all on the web.
The thing is, like many of the small companies, AdWords is growing very fast. That's part of it. That's part of the Google success, that AdWords is growing so fast, because AdWords is growing so fast and the amount of developers is limited. Small companies are growing fast enough, and sometimes they don't have the resources internally. So this is a common case that I see every day, that a small company is growing, is spending more money in AdWords, or is on an agency. That's the other case. It could be a small company or an agency that handles many accounts or many customers, is growing, and they find themselves struggling to do everything manually. So when they realize they cannot do it, they bring developers in-house. So it's a good opportunity for a developer to go there, or for a developer to code something for them. So that's kind of another question.
Perhaps are there any like good third-party tools that could be built on the top of using the API? Because not everybody needs to have a programmer making a third-party tool. So are there any like of an interest?
There are many paid tools. I don't know any of free ones, but there are many agencies that have their own tools. They're usually very restrictive, very close. Like they make money with these tools, so they don't offer like any source code or anything. So
even like a product on the market that would have, let's say, better, nicer UI.
There are many products that have a better UI than AdWords, because they have functions that the AdWords website doesn't offer. Like, for example, dynamic bidding. That's one of the best examples. Some companies really want to be in first position, and they really play around with the numbers to make sure they get into the first position, paying a lot of money, but they also want to make sure they are not paying too much. So they do dynamic bidding with the strategies behind it. So there are many websites that are doing this, companies that are doing this in third-party tools. Mm-hmm. And any more questions? I think we can leave it here. Like, if you have any, oh, okay.
Do AdWords influence searches also? Do AdWords influence searches also?
Yeah, that's a very good question. The question is if the Google AdWords influence search results. Something very important for Google is that this is completely separated. Like, it is impossible to pay for a search result, and actually the teams inside Google are physically separated. They don't communicate, like the team that is running AdWords and the team that is running search quality, because we believe that is part of our success is to have very good organic search results that cannot be influenced, that they can be completely automatic, completely based on merit instead of being paid. But in the other hand, we also offer AdWords, so it's completely separated, but you can only show ads sometimes on top of the search results, but they are clearly marked as ads. So there's no relation.
Another question.
Mm-hmm.
Have you got kind of restrictions in your legal documents that, for example, if agency is going to use your service, AdWords service, is only restricted to this service? I mean, is it possible to put advertisement on AdWords and some other programs?
Okay, so the question is if you code for Google, if you can code for other companies. This is completely open. I don't believe there's any restriction. Like, if you are working with other search engines or other advertisement programs, I think I don't have the clear understanding of the whole legal part, but I think the only difference is that sometimes you need to have the keywords in different databases or different places. We can take a look later, but there's some restriction, but it's very open, but there's some restriction because you don't want to, the problem is that you don't want to have less functionality in AdWords because you are using a different network. So there's a small restriction, but it's almost not there. It's like you can code for all of them. Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, I know many agencies, for example, in the past I worked in iProspect, it's one of a search engine that they have a very good advertising system. I don't know many details of them, that there are many, but It's a very competitive market. There are like agencies are the best examples because the agencies run very large accounts. So it's very easy to find. Like if you search for the top 10 agencies, you can see the software that they have. Any more questions? Yes. Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah, maybe that's a really good example. Like if you have a local search engine, maybe like you need to have software made in the Czech Republic to be able to use the local search engine and use Google at the same time. Because, for example, American companies may not use the API for search engines. They may use only maybe Google, Yahoo's, and Bing's, or yeah, exactly. So, for example, there's a very good case for developers that you have the advantage that you speak Czech, you are in the country, so you can integrate other APIs and also the AdWords API in the same software, and it's very attractive for local agencies or even external customers that need to advertise in the Czech Republic. So we still have 5 minutes. Like, any other questions, or grab me at the end of the talk if you want to have something specific or something that you don't want to talk in front of everyone else. Okay? So let's leave it like this. Thank you for coming. Something we get the QR code for the feedback. Your feedback is very important. So because we run these events yearly almost, so it's good to know what you think for the future.